So Rick Steiner is meeting fans at a recent event. He's been newly inducted into the Hall of Fame in WWE alongside his brother Scott, and he's enjoying meeting all the fans. The next person in line, however, is not a fan. It's Tommaso Ciampa. Rick Steiner is incredibly confused, and he asks Champa, "What the hell's going on? What the hell do you want with me?" And before Champa can even give a verbal answer, he gives a physical one. So Champa has assaulted a Hall of Fame legend. But why? Having just been called up to Monday Night Raw, Champa is arriving at the arena for the show. And he's approached by the interviewer backstage who asks him about this. He doesn't even acknowledge him and he just walks straight through. But then on his way to the arena, he encounters a very familiar face. Bron Breakker was waiting backstage at Raw for Champa to arrive, and the two are beating the hell out of each other. Breakker is avenging his father, and he and Champa are back at it again. Breakker drops Champa, and while standing over the top of him, he says, "You come at my family again, and it's gonna be even worse." So Bron Breakker has gotten a measure of revenge for his father, but he and Champa know that this is only the beginning. Breakker, of course, is the NXT champion, and he's defending his title in the main event of the show against one of the hottest talents in the world, Carmelo Hayes. These two are the future of the WWE, and in the heat of the battle, the referee is knocked down. And this is where Champa sees his moment to strike. Breakker is blindsided by Champa, who nails him with a chair. He then picks him up and delivers a fairy tale ending. He slides out of the ring with the chair and the damage is done. And Carmelo Hayes, who is so desperate to be the NXT champion, he has no hesitation in taking advantage of the situation. The referee is up, and Hayes is able to finish him off, getting the 1, 2, 3. Hayes is the new NXT champion. Breakker is left laying at ringside. Champa is basking in the fruits of his labor up on the ramp. The next week on Raw, finally, Tommaso Ciampa is here to explain just why he's targeted Bron Breakker and his family. He says it's real simple. I created NXT. I was part of the black and gold brand. It was all me. I made it what it was. And Bron Breakker, he came in and took all of that from me. He even took my most prized possession. He took Goldie. So I wanted to get the man who created Bron Breakker and take that from him. Bron needs to know my pain. So Breakker, prepare to be broken. It's then in the distance we can hear shouting and a whole heap of commotion. There is one very pissed off former NXT champion, Bron Breakker, trying to break in to the building. But security is holding him back. Breakker is desperately trying to get at Champa, and Adam Pearce arrives and he says, "You're not a Raw superstar, so you're not allowed in the building. It's that simple, Bron." And Breakker is taken out of the arena as Champa watches on from a distance very arrogantly. This is just starting to heat up. That same week, Bron Breakker is back on his brand, and he has a message directly for Tommaso Ciampa, and it's very simple as well. He says, "Ciampa, I'm going to get you one way or another. This isn't over, not by a long shot. I don't care where, I don't care when, but I'm going to put you down for good, just like I put NXT Black and Gold down." So the two men are separated contractually, but it was outside of the WWE where things would get even crazier and more heated. Scott Steiner, the uncle of Bron Breakker, was making an appearance at an independent show on the same weekend, and while greeting all the fans at ringside, just like his brother, he was confronted by Tommaso Ciampa, who was in the crowd. Both men exchange words, and then Steiner actually gets in the ring and invites Ciampa in. He wants to fight. Ciampa quickly jumps over the barricade and he gets into the ring, and it's looking like the two are going to go toe-to-toe when Scott Steiner actually pulls him up and he says, "You know what? I don't think this is really worth my time. I barely even know who this guy is. I'm a Hall of Famer. I'm the big bad booty daddy. And I don't need this shit. You're not worth my time, son. Champa then says, not worth your time? Okay, old man. I guess this is enough for you, is it? Couple of hundred people to try and keep all that past glory alive? It's pretty pathetic if you ask me. Steiner then turns to Champa and says, I said it's not worth my time, dickhead. I got nothing left to prove. But I've got a pretty pissed off nephew who does. The crowd goes crazy. Bron Breakker is here. He sprints through the crowd and he goes directly after Tommaso Ciampa. The two engage in a crazy brawl yet again. And this is not Raw or NXT though, so there's no one there to break it up. Breakker and Champa trade shots and eventually it's Bron Breakker who gets on top and he manages to drop the veteran. He then motions to another one. He motions to his uncle. And here comes Big Papa Pump. He stands over Champa and he locks in the Steiner recliner. The crowd goes crazy. He has it locked in and Breakker is amping everyone up in the building. Steiner relinquishes the hold. He tosses him outside the ring. He and his nephew celebrate with the crowd. The next week, Bron Breakker is in the middle of a match on NXT. And he's dominating as usual when, up on the Tron, he sees footage of Champa trying to get into the building. But of course, just like when Bron Breakker was on Raw, Champa is being held back like security because he's not contractually allowed to be on NXT. But Champa wants Bron Breakker's blood. But Breakker keeps his composure for now. He puts his opponent away. Then he looks at the Tron and the composure fades away. He says, Champa, you're not allowed here and I'm not allowed there. So how about we meet in the middle? How about we do this on pay-per-view? Let's do it on neutral ground. Hell, let's do it in Nashville at SummerSlam. But since you won't stay down, I'm gonna keep your ass down. Let's do a last man standing match so I can put your ass down properly, just like I did to the old guard of NXT. Champa screams at Breakker and he agrees to the match. It's going to be Bron Breakker versus Tommaso Ciampa. Last man standing at SummerSlam. The battle is on. It's Breakker and Champa, two men who have history in NXT. Breakker was the man who took down the final remnants of the old NXT. A man who is ushering in a new era of superstar. Taking on Champa, who was part of the old guard, the never say die psycho killer. And as Champa is setting him up for a final fairy tale ending, boom! He gets met with a vicious chair shot from behind. Looking down at Tommaso Ciampa, holding that chair, is Rick Steiner. Steiner tells his son to pick him up and finish him off. Champa is down. The referee counts to 10. Bron Breakker is victorious. He celebrates in the ring with his father, but then the music cuts out. They both look towards the ramp, and it's Vince McMahon. He comes out onto the ramp and he says, I think you've proven yourself here tonight that you're more than worthy of the big stage. So I want to personally welcome you to the big time. You'll be on Monday Night Raw. Or should I say, Monday Night Bron. Bron Breakker is officially called up, and the future is now one of the brightest stars in pro wrestling.